concept note. Believe it's a great privilege to be here this evening, and it's an opportunity that I'm so grateful to you all for. I believe that Design Thinking Ghana is doing something so great. And when I read the write up that was sent to me, I realized that you are not only passionate about what you do, but you are also looking at not just giving out a product to your consumers, but the impact that product is going to make as far as your consumers are concerned. And I believe it's a plus. It's something that is so beautiful. And I think you should be commended for that. This evening, I believe in very interactive session. And so since I have the names here, I hope you wouldn't mind when I call out your name to answer a question, or when I would also be very grateful when somebody comes up to answer any question that is posed, because I believe that we will learn from each other. I believe knowledge is, something that we can all learn from one another. So, given this opportunity, I'm believing that we are going to have a great time as we think through on the experiences that we have as far as giving out gifts is concerned. And so the topic is the psychology of giving as a token of showing love and care. I would like to find out from any of our listeners, any of you, how you felt, any recent gift you have received, and how you felt. Any recent gift you received, it could be from a friend, it could be from a parent, a relative, it could be from a loved one. Can anybody share with us a recent gift you received and how you felt after receiving that gift? Anyone is free to talk, to unmute and talk.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, can I go?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I've seen the raise. I'm sorry, I was supposed to raise my hand before, but I was looking for it. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to say a very funny one, but it's the most recent gift. That was January, around the 1st January. There is a porridge seller around my office. Around like 3rd January, I went there to buy porridge. I bought a porridge. It totaled around 3 cities, and she was like, I should pick. Yeah, everybody for that day, porridge is free. So that's my gift.
Yeah, and how was the feeling? Like you received the gift, all right, but how did you feel?
To me, it was also. I mean, quite strange. I wouldn't say strange, but not common. But it was quite strange to me. But I was like, well, who doesn't like a free breakfast? So, I mean, I was excited about it. Made a little fun about it. But that's how I took it on my end.
Okay, I guess it was very thoughtful of the cocoa seller to give out a
And
gift on 5 that morning.
yeah,
Right. Thank you very much. Any other any other person?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yes, the last gift I got was just about last 2 weeks. I was in the office working. I was hungry, but it wasn't really an issue. And for some funny reason, I got a call from Haptel that somebody is delivering has sent a pack to me, and so the
Okay.
food got delivered. Now I don't know who has ordered the food. Even though I was hungry, I was not willing to touch it. So, and I didn't know who to ask. So I called Haptel and said, "Can you let me know who ordered the food?" He said, "Well, it came from somewhere." And so I was just waiting. I said, "Well, if I don't get a call, I'm not touching the food." So about 30 minutes later, I got a call. It came from an old friend. And I was really, it was so funny, but I said, "Oh, okay, then now I can touch the food." And I think the experience was um, how do I call it? Quite it was a very happy one, especially because I wasn't expecting food to come from that person, not on any day. But hey, as simple as food, it came. So that was it.
Yeah. And it made you feel good, I guess.
Yeah. Because I was not expecting it from that person in particular.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we realized one thing here that you were not willing to consume the food till you knew where the food is coming from. And so knowing where any gift is coming from is very important to any person. Can we get the last person to tell us his or her experience about the last gift received and then how the person felt? All right. If we don't have any more speakers, any person to talk about that, I think I would share an experience somebody also had. There is this gentleman who was very naive about what to give to people, and then at to what extent do you have to go ahead and give? And so he traveled to the UK, and when he was coming down, there is this lady friend of his, and he decided to shop some ladies' panties and present this gift to the lady. They are not in a relationship. They don't intend to be in one. But this gentleman went ahead to give this panties, which is very personal, to the lady. And it's quite interesting because the lady wasn't amused at all. At least our two speakers mentioned that they were happy about the gift. But this lady in question wasn't very happy about it because what warranted you to give such a personal gift to me when you have nothing to do with me? And so, what we are trying to drive at this evening is that gifts are very important. Gifts makes us feel very special sometimes, but there are other times that gifts can offend us as well. And so when we talk about the psychology of giving as a token of showing love and care, my first question is what is, we hear of psychology. What is psychology in itself? And psychology is a scientific study of the human mind and its functions, especially those affecting behavior in a given context. And so, scientifically studying the human mind and how it functions, and then why we behave the way we do, the functions affecting the way we behave, the way we do our things. That is what psychology is about. And so when we talk about psychology of giving as a token of showing love and care, then we are looking at what our human mind processes to us when we receive gifts. The intention of the gift might be to show love and care, but then how does the mind process whatever gift you are giving out to a person? There is a powerful psychological principle at work that underlies the psychology of giving. And when we experience ourselves as givers, we receive a deep and enduring affirmation of our value to others. It's you feel very appreciated. You feel loved for somebody to come out to give you something. First and foremost, some might feel that the person is very thoughtful to have come out to give out something like that to him or her. And what happens psychologically, what happens is that there is a release of dopamine when giving and receiving gifts, there is a release of dopamine, which means gift giving creates some kind of pleasure. I believe we all love to receive gifts, so it creates some kind of pleasure as we receive gifts. And what is this dopamine I'm talking about? It is a type of a neurotransmitter in our bodies, and which makes it's from our nervous system, and it's used to send messages between nerve cells. So that is why it's sometimes called a chemical messenger. So dopamine plays a role in how we feel. Dopamine plays a very important role on how we feel as individuals. And it's a very big part of our unique human ability in thinking and in planning. So depending on how sad or how happy you are, the dopamine plays a very important role in psychology. And before we even delve deep into the act of giving gifts, there are other ways. We have something called love languages, and I believe most of us are aware of love languages, where we have the physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and words of affirmation. And gift given happens to be one of the love languages of an individual. And so someone might appreciate a physical touch, which means you are hugging, you are you are touching the person, you are cuddling, you are giving the person a peg. A loved one might receive that as a way of appreciating or caring for him or her. Another person might want quality time where you would sit together and have the opportunity and to spend time together as a couple, as friends, as a group. Another person might look at act of service, which translates to showing and feeling love through helpful service. Probably you know this person is supposed to do this and that, and so you go ahead and you show this kind of service. And then words of affirmation, which comes as a result of giving out compliments, expression of love, and then verbal praise to somebody to show appreciation to whoever. And then we have the gift given. Some people just naturally love to receive gifts. And so when we are giving gifts or when we are thinking of giving out gifts, I believe we also need to look at the this as a scale of preference where gift giving is to this person in question that you want to give out gifts to. But for our discussion today, we are going to limit it on the gift giving. And so we realize that everyone loves gifts. Everyone loves gifts. In as much as we have these as a way of showing love, naturally, gifts are things that people love. And so during Valentine's Day, it's a time of the year when people's attention is focused on the holiday ritual of gift giving. Everybody expects, or people expect to receive something great from their loved ones. And then it's an opportunity for shoppers who are moving about to look for the right kind of gift for that special person in your life. And exchange of gifts is a major part of this celebration. And the whole act of gift giving can offer psychological benefits. What happens is that as you go to the extent of giving out that special gift to that special person in your life, you might be meeting a psychological need. Sometimes that person at that particular point in time might be going through certain emotional difficulties, which the thoughts behind the gift, sometimes it might not just even be the gift itself, but the thoughts behind the gift would go a long way to solve a psychological need in the life of that individual. And so giving a gift is a universal way to show interest, appreciation, and gratitude, as well as strengthen bonds with others. It's it's a way of sometimes it's a way of communicating to somebody. You have an intention to have a relationship with somebody. And sometimes by introducing these gifts, it's a way of paving the way and making it possible for the person to be able to, if the person may not directly read into it to think that your giving of gifts is communicating something to the person, but then it's an initial step that would probably pave the way for whoever is receiving to at least start thinking in that line. And so you actually, it's a way of making your intentions known subtly to whoever is receiving that gift. And then it also brings us appreciation and gratitude. So whoever is giving out psychologically is happy that I'm fulfilling a need. And whoever is receiving psychologically is also happy because I am being appreciated. I'm grateful for the fact that this person appreciates me or appreciates what I do for him or her. And so it's a way of strengthening bonds with others. Determining what needs to be given and making sure it fits with the person is an emotional lift when searching for that special gift. That whole act of determining what the person needs and making sure it fits the person in itself is a way of emotionally trying to express yourself to the person, because choosing the right kind of gift for the right person takes a lot of effort, because you might buy a gift for somebody. In Africa here, we would pretend that we love the gift. Probably we might not like it, but our culture makes it that you at least polite to the person. But the truth is, immediately you leave, the gift might find its way somewhere. And I believe the sad thing is to see that a gift you have probably worked so hard to give to somebody, you find it sitting in a dustbin, or you find it with somebody else whom you didn't intend to give that gift to. And so trying to get that right gift entails a lot of emotional and physical strength, which you actually need to be able to get that right gift for that special person. It's always better to give than to receive. That is what we say. But that's what we say. But then you realize that we also expect in return to receive something. So when we give without expecting anything in return, we are improving our psychological health. You are actually improving your psychological health by intending to give to somebody without receiving anything back. It's a very good practice. But then gift giving feels good internally. That is why it makes it psychologically healthy. And there are other extrinsic benefits as well that we receive when we give out. The thought of you parting with something to be able to give out gives a very nice feeling internally and externally to whoever is giving out. There is an enormous sense of satisfaction when seeing the expression on the face of the person you love to have received that special gift. And a way to express feelings, giving reinforce appreciation and acknowledgement of each other. This feeling expressed mainly depend on the relationship between the giver and the recipient. So normally it is not just the gift per se, but then when you are giving a gift to an individual, depending on what the relationship is, or who the person is to you as a person, it also determines the way how emotional the person might be, or the extent of appreciation the person might actually feel. So we realize that in general, gift giving feels good internally and externally as well. If, for instance, if it is a friend to a friend, people will always remain thoughtful. If it is from a romantic relationship, people will try to go for sentiments as well. And then gift giving taps into how we want to connect with that individual. So it speaks volumes. It's not just about the act, it is actually communicating something to whoever is receiving that gift. So I asked the questions I asked earlier because I wanted to find out where those gifts were coming from. And because those gifts were from acquaintances and they were not from romantic relationships, we saw more of a thoughtful, um, they felt the people were thoughtful enough. You are sitting down somewhere. Sometimes you might be so moody, sometimes you might just be there and things are not going the way you expect it to be. And then all out of the blue, somebody just comes around or somebody sends a gift to you. And that makes you feel that the person is quite thoughtful remembered to send you something like that or to had you in his thoughts. But when it comes to a romantic relationship, we are not only looking at for the thoughts, but the sentiments behind the gifts that is being given. What is it communicating to the person? The sentiment that goes behind that gift that is being given out. It is also a way for the giver to it is also a way for the giver to reduce guilt. Let's take, for instance, you are somewhere so many miles away on Valentine's Day, and you were looking for an opportunity to actually spend this beautiful day with your loved one, but you are so far away. And so you think of something creative, something nice to give out to this special person. So you send it via courier, online, any way or anyhow this person would be able to reach out and get this gift. And it's kind of emotionally, it kind of reduces that guilt that you are feeling, that at this point you feel you are supposed to be with this special person in your life, but because of probably work or because of other engagements, you are not able to make it, but you go ahead and then you send this. And so it kind of takes away some of the guilt you might be experiencing at that particular point in time. And then it also brings some satisfaction to you to know that you were able to find the right kind of gift. And then it is accompanied with emotional happiness to have to know that you've been able to meet that person's expectation or make that person happy. And so if you do something positive for someone, positive psychology says you attract positive results. So it makes you, as a human being, it makes you very happy, very fulfilled to have done something positive to another person. So people don't always give just to get something back, but the feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of making another person happy, that is their intention to give. And then many a times we also think if I do a good deed, something good will happen for me. That is how we also think at times. And so when it happens that way, you go ahead and then you do that good deed because you know that at the long run, something good would also come to you. The expectation of reciprocating often comes with gift giving. Sometimes we would say that I am only looking at giving out to this person, but then you would deep within, this person would also want to receive something from another person. So I imagine that there is a small subset of us who do give and expect nothing in return. You can tag that with those who give anonymously. Usually, those are the people. But there is also an innate desire to receive when we give. It is a natural thing as human beings. No matter the gifts, people would want to receive something in return. That's why it's sad when there is an exchange of gifts and then um, by mistake somebody doesn't receive anything. You realize that psychologically, it might not be a big deal, but then you would feel that you would not feel that kind of love that every other person is experiencing or is trying to experience at that point in time. So psychologists aren't the only ones who understand the mental and emotional benefits of gift giving. Occasions such as Christmas and Valentine's Day are also big time for advertisers to tap into the feelings of consumers to get them to buy products. And it seems as if Christmas or Valentine's Day advertising arrives early every year. It is to sense the essence, or the reason why it comes early is to sensitize the general public on what is coming up, and then to get them in the mood. It is also a way of psychologically preparing their minds for what they should expect, what they should expect. And so the hyping, the advertisements and all these kind of puts the people in the mood and get them ready to expect that big day, look forward to that big day, and then what it comes along with. Usually these adverts can be done on televisions, on radio commercials, or either shopping websites, store displays, or create a culture of giving and being prepared for finding the right gift. There is a great expectation and build up on what it will mean when a person receives this kind of gift. And so gifts can also bring on feelings of negativity for both the giver and recipients when the gift is much or more or less than what they expect. I believe I made an example of somebody who received something that looked quite personal and is expected in a romantic relationship, or probably somebody very close to you. But these were just acquaintances, and he went ahead to buy something that's personal. And so the expectation or whatever the end result wasn't something that he expected to see. He was hoping to see something very positive, but unfortunately it's bounced back. And so it's very important that when we are thinking of giving out that special gift, we look at all these things and we just don't go ahead and give just any gifts for giving's sake. And a person can have immediate feelings of resentment if they feel a person has not spent enough. Sometimes you have somebody who feels that if you cherish me, then a lot should be able to go into what you are giving out to me as a gift. And this is where we have personality of individuals coming to bear. So to be able to give that gift to that person, you should be able to know the personality of this person. You should have worked and identified that this person is appreciative of very little things, or this person looks out for very huge, expensive things. And so the personality of the individual comes to bear here as you make that right choice in giving that gift that you so look forward to. Sometimes the person who might not appreciate the gift might feel undervalued or cheated because he or she feels that I will go that extra mile of giving out my all, and then you have given me something like a peanut and I was expecting something better. I remember during last year, December, we had exchange of gifts on campus, and I went an extra mile to get something for a person, someone on campus. And I felt very fulfilled for doing that. I don't know what I was going to get, but I was all the same expecting whatever it is that whoever will bring. And for me to have received a, a weekend stay in a hotel with my family, it's a classy hotel with my family. It was something, it was a last thing on my mind, but it blew me off my feet and I was so excited about it. And so it made me so fulfilled. It made me so happy that I was able to also give out my best. And I'm sure I would have felt so bad if I didn't go that extra mile of making sure that the gift I was giving out to another person wasn't so appreciated, wasn't so valuable. And so sometimes we make the person either feel valued or undervalued, depending on the person's personality and the type of gifts we give out to the person. And sometimes the gift we give out expresses more feelings than we expected. Sometimes we find it difficult to say certain things in words, but the kind of gifts you give to that particular person that you are considering to communicate the words that you are not able to give out. Although gifts giving can be the distressor and create balance, the hunt for the perfect gift for friends and family can also cause a lot of stress because, like I said, you need to look out for the right gift for the right person. You look out for the personality. You look out for um, probably what the person might be going through at a particular point in time. You are considering the kind of relationship you have with the person to pick the right kind of gift. And so it's at the end of the day, you feel stressed out. And so if we would be able to get um, some people who would be able to take out that kind of stresses from whoever is making that choice, I believe it will go a long way for anyone to appreciate that. And so the cost of gifts and what it takes to package them can be a financial burden at times. At times, you are not really prepared for that kind of um, financial costs that you need to incur in giving out to that special person. Gifts don't have to be huge monetary things sometimes, but depending on whoever you are actually giving it out to, you need to really reconsider or you need to think through before you make that. And so studies have shown that human brains enjoy the sense of joy of being a gift giver as opposed to being a recipient of gifts. Generosity of time is as important as the gift of treasure. Thoughtful giving seems more personal than giving for giving's sake. The goal for any organization should be for the prospect to become a happy donor that leads to the repeat and increased giving. And so our desire or our thought is not just on on the fact that you are actually just giving, but we are also looking at the human brains behind enjoying the fact that you've been able to give to be a blessing to somebody else. And so at this moment, I would pause here and then wait and then find out if there are any questions so that if there is something I didn't mention, we can actually look at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adwa. That was very detailed. You speak like a psychologist for real. Thank you so much. Some very good pointers there about knowing not just what state the person is in, but a little bit more than just their situation, so that you can really nail the gift. So let's see if there are some questions. You can type your questions in the chat, or you can unmute and raise your hand, rather not unmute, raise your hand. And then you'll be called to ask a question or a comment, something that spoke to you from what Adjoa just shared. Or Kofi, you can also, I mean, since you're moving into sort of that process of figuring out, how to really craft the gift, or build a gift, so to speak. Maybe there's something that Adjoa said that connects with your session that you want to talk about or ask about.
Right, Doc. There's a quote that a statement that you made that I think it's still on my mind. Right? He called out. She said, there is more pleasure and reward in the person that is given the gift as much there is for the receiver. And so that's quite an interesting thought to hold on to as we think about, connecting empathy to giving of the gift, because then, empathy literally will bring you into the space of the person you want to gift. And so she mentioning that it gives you as much pleasure, I think it's very much reversed, because then you literally now understand the person so much that you are giving the gift to yourself. And so I think I totally got that connect, which I thought was profound.
That's really interesting. You give the gift, and if you feel the gift that you're giving out. I don't know, Joy, does that any comment on that?
Yes. I believe that, like the example I made in the December get together we had on campus, you give because you give, not just because you want to give, but then you are trying to put yourself in the shoes of whoever you are giving to. Would you be appreciative? Would you love what you are giving out? What effort have you put in to make sure that this gift you are giving out is going to meet that special need? What effort have you made to make sure that this gift is going to, make this person love what you have given out? And so putting yourself in the person's shoes is very important. You don't just give gifts. Sometimes we just give gifts because I just have to give it. It's Valentine's Day, it's Christmas. I just have to give a gift. But I think you should go beyond just giving for giving's sake, but putting yourself in the person's shoes to make sure that the gift you are given is something the person is going to love and appreciate as well.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you for expanding on that. Any other comments or questions before we turn it over to Kofi? I think everybody's thinking about it, about the last gift they gave. I like something you said about how, this is a bit of self-promotion, how Design Thinking Ghana, we try to be very practical. We want to show that design thinking can be we want to show the breadth of what design thinking can be applied to, right? So we try really hard to do this, and so we thought that we shouldn't miss the opportunity to explore the connection between design thinking and gift giving, especially as we come up to Valentine. So as we go through the rest of the year, we're going to take advantage of the different holidays and you know, how do I put it, the ceremonies, the different dates on the calendar, and really connect design thinking to them. So thank you for bringing our attention to that. Right.
Yeah.
So without much ado, we'll hand it over to Kofi Jamfi. Kofi, apologies. You have to introduce yourself and then take us through your part of the workshop.
I think before coffee comes, I think I would
Yes.
really ask to take off leave right now. I need to
Sure.
pick my
Sure.
kids and then head back home. So thanks so much for the opportunity, and I wish you the
Thank you
very
so
best.
much. Absolutely. Thank you so much. We know how busy you are, so thank you so much. We very much appreciate it. Thank
Welcome.
you. And we will let, if there are additional questions come up or any other issues that came up later, we'll share them with you.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Okay. Over to you, Kofi.
Great. Thank you, Doc. Okay, everyone, we're going to move on. So you can see my screen. So what we want to do now is a little bit of an activity. Doc has given us so much context, and so it would be good to attempt to put some of these to work, and then we're going to come back to the rest of what you're expecting in terms of how you're going to apply design, the design thinking approach to giving a Valentine gift. I'm sure most of you are still holding on to that. And so if you are listening just the audio and not looking on the screen, this would be a good time to get back to the screen, check on your device and see what it's up on the screen. So we've got two personas here. We've got Nana Kwame and then Abena Ajiman. And these are two interesting personas. These are real people, you know. A few things about Kwame. Kwame is about 30 years of age, and he's a journalist. He plays basketball. He loves cooking. He loves photography. He loves traveling a lot. And he stays in Accra, I would say mainland Accra. There's one interesting thing that Kwame said that I would like to bring to your attention. Kwame mentioned something when we spoke to him. He said he believed in living every moment to the fullest with the people that matter, and I can go with the flow. That's what Kwame had told us when we spoke to Kwame. Abna is 26 years of age. Abna is a civil engineer. Abna loves writing and painting and a lot of movies, and Abna stays all the way in Kaswa. When we talked to Abna, Abna said, life is easier when you plan everything. I love to have fun, but it has to be according to plan. And so looking at Kwame and Ajua, this is what we want you guys to do. You're going to choose any of the personas that resonate with you, right? You're going to gift Kwame or Abna this very moment. What we want you to do, take a few minutes, 2 minutes, list the approach, your approach to how are you going to go about giving a gift to Nana or Abna, and tell us what the gift is. So really simple. You're going to type that in the comment section in the chat. 2 minutes. Think about Kwame. Think about Abna. Look at this demographic about them and the quotes. Very important. And tell us the process that you're going to go through if you had to give one of these a gift. Is it clear? So you can drop that in the chat. I'll keep repeating the instructions so we can have you drop your response in the chat. So we've got Abna, we've got Kwame. Abna is a journalist. Sorry, Kwame is a journalist. He loves cooking, he loves basketball, traveling. He stays in Accra. And Kwame says, I believe in living every moment to the fullest with the people that matter. He can go with the flow. And Abna also is 26 years, a civil engineer. She likes reading, painting, and watching movies. And Abna stays at Kaswa. She says, life is easy when you plan everything. I love to have fun, but it has to be according to plan. So you're going to give a gift to Kwame or Abna. How are you going to go about it? Give us the process. You can write 1, 2, 3, 4, and then your final answer is going to be the gift that you're going to give Ajwa. So can we have you drop that in the chat as we play some music to get you guys, buy you some time to tell us the process you're going to go through to gift Kwame or Ajwa. You can select any of them. That's fine. No one is okay. I think you guys are still typing out. Okay, I'm going to give you some time for that. And okay, one more minute. Giving everyone another minute. Frank, thank you for dropping your process. That's a good one. Anyone else? You just have Frank. We have some great response coming through, so I'm going to quickly go through that, and then we go right into the rest of the session. So we have Frank. Frank is saying that, can you guys hear me, just to be sure? Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Oh
hear
yeah,
you.
you can hear me. Great. All right. So Frank says he'll invite Kwame home and enjoy some food and give him a wristwatch. Interesting. Isaac says he's going to gift Abna a frame that's so dear to me on food waste. Okay, that is very interesting. You're going to frame a picture that is dear to you on food waste to Abna. Okay, let's just put a pin on that. Samaila says he's going to gift Abna, but thinking Abna is a technical person, she believes she'd like to create things with her hands. That's actually not a gift, but you're thinking about an experience for her to create something with her hands. Okay, good. Benedicta says, I'll hit up on social media. I'll plan a trip with him, probably a hiking trip. I'll get Kwame a camera on the trip. Okay, that's another interesting one. Um, Sumala says, give up now, take. Okay, no, I've already read that. Mohammed says, I'll invite Abna out for a movie, and I'll also invite Kwame out for a cooking. Okay. There he says, I'll send Abna to a painting exhibition and buy her one. All right, she loves painting. Good. But first, I'll tell her about taking her out. Okay, so that you don't mess up her plans. Give her the time and the place, but keep the actual gift as a surprise. Interesting. Kwame Emilia will send a gift to Kwame. He says, an African safari, Abna dinner with live music. Okay, let me go over to, we've got quite a number of you responding now. That's good. I'm going to read Abby Eggman's reply. Then we go straight into the session. It says, one, what are all the run loving spontaneous things that can be done with his hobbies? Two, which of the hobbies has he spent the most time in doing? Three, which one has he spent the least time in? What are the things he hasn't experienced with his hobbies? Five, go back to my findings in one and see what is outside Accra. Six, book him a trip outside Accra to create Accra to participate in one of his hobbies. That is an interesting flow of thoughts there for Abby, Miss Abby. All right, great. Thank you guys for dropping in. I'm not going to be able to go through all of it, but let's jump right into the rest of the session. So this is a good premise. I like we having very varying approaches coming from different people, and we are going to, if we have the time, hopefully we will come back here and mark your thought process, right? Because some of it is very much in line with the expectation, and others are also not quite there. But that's about why you are here, right? Just to know what a design thinker would do. What's going to be a process if what's going to be the design thinking approach to giving a gift to someone. And so thank you all for participating. That's a good one. Now let's go right into it. I'm Kofi again. I work with design thinking as a design thinking project associate, as well as a workshop facilitator. And at design thinking, we delight in delighting people, giving them solutions that are really human centered. So let's go back talking about how to design the Valentine gift experience. But just to give you the gift of my black self, I'm going to turn on my video. So let's go on, guys. Thinking about the gifts experience, right? Giving a gift to somebody usually looks something like this, right? It's a little bit chaotic at the beginning, and what usually we want to do is you want to move from a place of strategy, a place of chaos, into somewhere that is triumph. And triumph is when you are really sure that you've got the perfect gift, and then you're really sure that the person is going to love the gift that you're going to give them. So usually that's the process that you want to go through. That's how it looks like. That's about we trying to define the experience, the field of play in giving someone a gift, because it can take a toll on you thinking about what these people might like, what they might not like. How are you going to deliver? How are you going to design the gift giving experience in itself? And usually, you start from point A to point B, but where we want to take you is we want to move you from this point of chaos into a place where you are happy with what you've decided to give, as well as thinking about the gift giving experience. So yeah, we did this quick activity and we're going to redo it again. But this time around, maybe I just want one person so we don't spend too much time on this. I want Adjoa had asked that what are the gifts that delighted you the most, right? So let's flip it. Anybody think about really quickly if you've had a gift that most displeased you, you're not going to forget it. And so if you can tell us about your experience, what's the worst gift you've received? And why did you not like it? What's the worst gift you've received and why did you not like it? The worst gift you've received and why did you not like it? Let me quickly put someone on the spot so we can move through this fast enough. Amelia, do you want to bail us out?
Hi. Hiya.
Hey.
Hey. Okay, sorry. Please repeat the question.
Right.
Can I
So I'm
bail
sure
you out? Yes. But
you had seen this before. So what's
yeah.
the worst gift you've received and why did you not like it?
Honestly, legitimately, this one was, I'm sure it was a coincidence, but a few years ago, not a few years, many years ago, for one of my birthdays, my dad came over with a bag of oranges. um I think he forgot it was my birthday, but he happened to be holding the oranges, and so obviously I assumed that it was a birthday present. So then he comes and he hugs. I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. What did you get me?" And then I see the oranges, right? So you know of course, I have to be grateful, but I was a bit confused. But so I said thank you. It's like, oh, are you trying to tell me that for my birthday I should be healthy? But the look of shock on his face told me that he had completely forgot that it was my birthday. And so, um, yeah. So it doesn't exactly answer your question, but yes, that would probably be the most interesting.
Great, it
Yeah.
does. It does. It does. Thank you for coming through. One last person. What's the worst? I think Emilia might have given us some time to think about it. And if you've really received a worst gift, I'm sure you don't you won't need so much time to remember. So would you want to give it a try? I'm just mentioning random names. So Carl, Isaac, Rosina, um, Fabienne, PK Fabienne, Derek, Amanda, Benedicta.
Hello?
None of you have. Yeah, go ahead, Fabienne. Thank you.
Yeah, so mine is quite similar. I got a present from a friend who came all the way from Nigeria. So of course I was expecting something like native from Nigeria. And then we've been running some weight loss program. So we are all trying to get healthy. But I didn't know like what he was going to get me was something relating to that. So he told me he got me a present. I was actually expecting like some bougie kaftan with some native cap and everything. But he opens his bag and then the only thing he gets me is a skippy rope. And that is it. That is it. So yeah, that's the worst gifts I ever received. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's a hard one to hear. Anyways, thank you guys. So yeah, I think e- with both experiences from Emilia and Fabienne, there was a point of they expecting that the person would delight them, but ended up being ending in disappointment, right? And from the gift givers experience to, if you were to hear them, they will probably have a good perspective on why they decided to gift that particular gift to the two of you. And usually this is the process of gift giving. It's broken down into three major, I would say, quadrants. It's a lot to do with starting with inspiration. And so the person that wants to give the gift, I believe that all of us here probably at some point in our lives want to give a gift. But then particularly in focus for February 14th, you would want to give someone a gift. That's why you probably are here. And so it's a lot around now. Probably you are thinking about what the inspiration is, right? And which once you think you have the right inspiration, you want to go into ideation. And ideation is more around thinking about, one, two, three, four, five gifts that are within your pool, and then you narrowing in on one that you think might delight the person. And then after you've ideated, there's another difficult task that you have to overcome, which is around implementation. And so implementation is around you thinking about the gift giving experience, you thinking about how to now give the gifts that you've ideated on, which is quite another level of difficulty altogether. So if you think about this as well, this is what really happens in the design ecosystem and in our world in essence. Most of the devices that we have right now that delight us moved through this cycle. It moved from inspiration to the solution providers having to ideate on a couple of solutions, and then once they felt they've got a solution that was close enough to what you might like, they had to implement that. And sometimes implementation doesn't go so well, so they have to go back to inspiration. And so your approach on giving a gift to somebody is not very different from how we solve problems in the world, and in context, how designers think about solving problems. And so today, what we're going to do is to pick out a few of the tools in the designer toolkit and help you use that to delight the next person you want to give a gift to this Valentine's Day. I would like for you to drop in a chat if you have a question, or raise your hands. I would really love for you to drop anything that you have while I go on. And so since we identify that giving a gift is very much synonymous to designing and problem solving in the way that the designers do it, we are going to borrow a few tools from the toolkit today and think through on how we can use that to design our next gift for someone. And we've talked about design thinking a couple of times. Design thinking really, right? To design think a problem, which was the topic of today, how to design think the Valentine gift experience. All that summarizes into we thinking about designing with someone else needs as the center of your design, right? So you have the person's needs. That's very important. So put a mental pin on that. Designing with someone else's needs at the center of your design. And the approach that we're going to look at today is the design thinking approach. So maybe you might be in the audience and this might be your first time hearing design thinking, and you're like, what is the design thinking approach? And so the design thinking approach what is design thinking? It's an approach to creative problem solving. By the end of the day, you probably would have more insights what design thinking is, but I think if you're here, you probably might have had an introduction to design thinking, so I won't spend so much time on that. And this, it's built on the foundation of understanding the user's needs, right? Developing insight from your understanding of the user's need. And by when you say user, the person you're going to give the gift to, right? So those are the users in this sense. For they are the recipient of your solution. So let's call them users. And anytime you hear me say user, that's what I mean, or consumer, that's what I mean. And then you using the insight that you've developed from your understanding of them to meet their needs. And so now let's take a step backwards. In you attempting to give someone a gift this Valentine's Day, think about it in this way. The person you're trying to gift is over here. They have core unmet needs, right? And don't think about these needs as physical only. They have core unmet needs. And how are you going to identify these unmet human needs? We're going to think through how we're going to use design thinking to unpack some of the core unmet human needs. And once you've been able to unpack what the unmet needs of the person you want to give give the gift to, you're going to use empathy insight. So the insight that you uncover from engaging, interaction, immersing with the person you want to give the gift to, that will help you move from a point of chaos, as we talked about, to a point of clarity. And this is what we want to help you do, to use some of the tools that we're going to show you today in the design thinking toolkit to come up with delightful solutions, right? And delightful solutions, in this case, we can replace that with giving a gift to somebody. And it's only through empathy with the end user can you design solutions that delight them. And so what really is empathy? Because I've talked about unmet needs, I've talked about using empathy insights to create gift that would delight the end user, the person you want to gift. And so what really is empathy, and why are we talking about unmet needs as an anchor to you giving the person a gift to meet those unmet needs? But before we go on, design thinking is particularly useful in solving what we call wicked problems. And giving a gift is actually a very, very wicked problem, because wicked problems are problems that are incomplete, they are contradictory, and sometimes they have very, very changing requirements. And if you have a girlfriend, I'm sure you probably agree with me, or you have a boyfriend, you probably would know that the requirements of their needs are constantly changing, right? So you spoke to them in October last year, and you thought, wow, you have figured out the perfect gift for them this Val's Day. And just January, they are speaking about something differently, or you are getting a very, very different vibe from them. And so with such a problem, how to delight a person or a user who has constantly changing needs? It's wicked, because then the problem is not well defined. The requirements are always changing, and it's often very difficult to these changing requirements can be difficult to recognize, because you're like, last week you were all okay and today you are not. And what happened? So what is driving those changing requirements might be difficult to recognize, which I think you can all agree with me. So design thinking helps us solve these type of problems that are incomplete, they are contradictory, and they are changing requirements, as well as sometimes also, because of the complexities of what the changing of requirement depends on, the effort to solve such wicked problems can in itself review or create more problems. So the last thing you want to do is to make your Valentine gifts expose you the more and create more problems for your relationships. I mean, that's going to be terrible, and you don't want to do that. And so, how do we avoid this trap of solving a wicked problem the design thinking way? Now, design thinking is a process, right? It's a very iterative cyclic process, which we usually will show you this way as it moves from point A to point B, as moving from empathy to defining to ideating a couple solutions to prototyping them and then testing them out. And so, how do we lift the gift giving experience and put it in the center of this problem? Going a step back to this particular slide here, mind you, we want to unpack unmet needs. And we're saying that empathy is at the core of unpacking the user's unmet needs. And so, what is this empathy? What really is it? And how do we start off our gift giving adventure using empathy? So, the going back one step, the design thinking process is this, right? So we have different, I would say, modes of thinking in design thinking. Empathy is really a lot around research and walking a mile, I would say, in the shoes of the person you are trying to design for. So hold on that thought. Now, after you've walked in the mile of the shoe of the person you are trying to solve for, you take all of that experience, and you're going to use that experience to now define what the need is, what needs solving. Once you feel like you have properly defined it, you go into a space where you ideate. You come up with a couple solutions or a couple pointers to a solution that could solve the problem that you just defined. And then you don't end there. You go to prototype. You play around with it a few times, have a few iterations of what the solution is. Then you test it before you actually give it. And so this is what we're going to take you through. This is what you're going to do. Come next 2 weeks to give that person that you are seeking to delight. And at the core of this process is empathy, right? And what does it mean to empathize? Empathy really is the capacity to understand. And usually I say empathy is feeling with, right? It's feeling with the person. It's a capacity for you to be able to understand and feel what the other person is experiencing from within their frame of reference. Very, very important. So you want to experience the problem from the user's point of view, right? That is, it's about your capacity to place yourself into another person's position. And a few really interesting definition of empathy that a couple interesting people have come up with, which I'll take the last one. Is that empathy is intuitive, right? But it's also something that you can work on intellectually. So if you feel like, oh, okay, I don't have that capacity yet, and how do I empathize with the person I want to give the gift to this coming February 14th? Just hold on, we're going to go walk through that. And so really that is let's look at empathy and sympathy, right? And so just to not get you trapped into the sphere of sympathy and compassion, think about it in this way. If you have sympathy and you have compassion for someone, you are literally feeling for them, right? It's about feeling for someone else, about seeing, you are sort of observing their distress, and you are realizing that, whoa, I see your pain. You're actually in suffering. That is where compassion and sympathy ends. But empathy goes a step further. Empathy says, I see your suffering, or I see your unmet needs, and I want to experience those feelings. Empathy is about experience those feelings for yourself, right? So the feeling that the other person is going through, you want to experience it for yourself as if you were the person. And how are you going to do that? Because you are actually not the person. But there are a couple of tools, and using the power of imagination, you can walk a few miles in the shoe of the person that you're trying to define the solution for. So really, the core of you designing a solution that will please the user is through empathy. And Dr. has mentioned something that this to me today that's really still in my mind. It says empathy is really walking in the shoes of the person without judgment or solution, right? Which is really important. We talk about a lot of that, not judging the other person, but really that is without judging the person. And he went on to give examples. You can actually give a gift to somebody that you wouldn't give yourself because you're not judging them, right? So I could give an example. You can give a gift to somebody that you're giving it just because it's for them. You are never going to get that gift for yourself, not because it is bad for you, but just that you totally understand their environment or their experience, and you're not judging them for that experience, but you want to give them a gift that would delight them as well. So then you go ahead and give them a gift in the context that will delight them, and so you are moving from yeah, you are not judging them because you understand exactly how they feel and you are feeling with them, and so you are literally now giving the gift back to yourself. And so you probably might be thinking, so Kofi, yeah, we get feeling with the person as against feeling for the person. So how do I start out empathizing? How do I nail this empathy bit of the conversation? And if you think about empathy, we can do that really in three heavy brackets. Empathy is a lot about observation, it's a lot about engaging, and a whole lot about watching and listening. And observation is around, watching the user's behavior in the context of their lives. And in thinking about giving a Valentine gift, probably you are probably going to give the gift to someone you love. And so it's usually around, you have all of that data. You probably have shared space with a person. And so you can observe their behavior in that environment. And other thing you can do is engage, right? Engage with the people in conversation and interviews, which is really important. And all the time when you are chatting with your significant other, it's an interview going on, and all their responses is a ton of data that reveals what they are. That's, if you synthesize properly, is going to reveal what their unmet needs are. So critical to empathizing is engaging. If you remove engagement from there, it will be hard for you to empathize. And you've got all of this data, right? So it's a matter of taking a step back to look at all of the data you have from your significant other, how to synthesize that into finding unmet needs. Really, really important unmet needs. And of course, you want to watch and listen to them. You want to ask someone to complete a task and tell them and tell you what they are doing. You just want to observe people doing things. So observe how they probably get into their car with a ton of things. They're holding their bag, they're holding their water bottle, they are holding a computer, and observing them getting into their car with all of these items and maybe some falling down. It's an unmet need. There's an unmet need there. Maybe they need a bag that doubles as a laptop bag and has a pouch that you can put your water bottle in, as well as a pouch where you can keep your keys in. So they have one bag and they don't have to hold so many things entering a car. So observing the person, watching and listening is a powerful way to empathize. There's this research that we came across that talked about what's the role of empathy in gift giving behavior. And one very interesting thing that we realized that the study mentioned was, this is a study from the Journal of Consumer Marketing, by the way, and it talked about different levels of empathy leads to very different gift selection behaviors, which is really important. The the extent of the empathy, of the, I would say, the bandwidth of empathy you have for the person is going to reflect in your gift selection behavior. So the least empathy you have for the person, the least effort you're going to put in your gift selection process for the person. That's the next point. It says great empathy promoted gift givers to spend more time and effort in the gift selection process. And so for all of it, this, you joining this discussion is it goes a long way to show your interest in delighting the person, because this is all part of the initial stage where you are finding inspiration to ideate on and to implement those solutions for the person you want to delight. And so once you've been able to gather all of this empathy insight from observing, from engaging, from listening and watching and understanding the person, what you want to do is to use all of these insights to define what you think might delight the person. So defining is really, in the design thinking process, we use defining as a point to synthesize all the findings that we've had from the empathy stage, which is also known as the research stage, to form a user point of view, right? So a point of view is more of, now you really are in the person's shoes. So you want to see things from their from their perspective. We want to see things from their point of view. And in design thinking, we always have a formula for crafting the point of view statement, which you probably want to use for thinking about the next gift that you want to give the person. And so you want to put user, so put your person's name there, maybe I don't know, an example, maybe I'll put Van there and say Van needs to, you're going to put the user's needs over there, and because of surprising insights. And these are surprising insights that you've uncovered from you synthesizing all the research data that you have from the user through the empathy stage, right? When you were observing, you were engaging, you were immersing, and you were just watching and recording all of that from the user's point of view. The time that you walked in their shoes, the insights that you realized, um, are stemming off from unmet needs are those that you're going to put over here. So you can have a point of view statement here that um, will serve as the launching platform for how you're going to identify the gift that you need to give the person. So your user, put the person there, Kofi needs XYZ because of the insight that you have from empathy. I'm going to repeat that again. So let's say Egan needs XYZ. So the need is that solution that you're going to give, the gift. And why? Why are you going to give that particular gift? It's because of the insight that you have from their needs that are unmet. Because you want to give them a gift that matches their unmet needs. That's only when they're going to be delighted. And I mentioned earlier on, the unmet needs is not only physical things, right? So once you've been able to synthesize all of the data you have from your empathy stage, from you understanding the person enough, you're going to use that to craft this point of view statement, and then that will lead you into ideation. And ideation is, coming up with a couple of solutions that you think might delight the person, right? And in the ideation phase, what we usually will tell people to focus on generating a lot of ideas, right? Because this is where you translate your problem into solution. So all what you've been doing from empathizing to defining, you are not even thinking about solution yet. You are trying to totally understand the person in a way that can help you from a point of view that will point you into ideating a couple solutions that work excellently for the person. This is what you want to do. And in ideation, you want to come up with as many solutions as possible. So don't feel shy to talk to the person's mother, the person's bestie, the person's friend. Say, what do you think are some of the things that might delight this person? And all you're doing is, you are sourcing for ideas. You want to have a lot of it, a pool of it in your basket, so that you can select one that meets those unmet needs that you uncovered during your research stage, right? And so use all of what's available for you. Group synergies, talk to their parents, anyhow you're going to get a lot of ideas through to get into the pool, and then you can select one that answers your point of view statement that is coming off on the unmet needs that we talked about. Then you go ahead and prototype, build a couple of it, and there's so many ways you can go about prototyping this by sharing a post with the person to say, hey, what do you think about this experience? I thought it's quite an interesting write-up. You can share with them. That's testing. I'm going ahead of myself. Build to think, right? And prototyping is just coming up, fleshing out the ideas the ideas that were floating around in your ideation stage, right? So flesh it out a little bit and build something that you can feel and see. You can build, feel, and see. This year's vows is going to be on the 14th, so it's a Monday, and so you want to build something around that experience that probably um, will not spoil or mess up the gift giving experience. And so prototyping, you want to get it to be real, a little bit real, feel and see it, start building something, create some artifacts, use very low resolution, so low fidelity items. You can use anything that you can use to bring the idea to life. And then sometimes also, it's not a product, right? It's not something physical you want to give the person, like something physical. It's an experience. And so you can prototype on the experience as well. You can prototype by going to work in that space, by going to role play that experience, how it's going to look like. If you're going to employ a saxophonist, maybe you want them to come around the room to see the layout of the house where they're going to move through. Let them play something so you hear actually bring it to life in the way that you can see it, and then you can critique it, you can adjust it somehow. And if you want to also create an experience, one tool you can use is a storyboard, right? The storyboard is more around creating the experience scenario by scenario, detailing all that could happen, and then, stru- working around that to build a good story from start to end. I'm looking at the time. I want to finish and then as soon as I can. So we're going to move on to the testing phase. Right. And so testing is what I call, in this sense, I'll put that in comparison to experience design. And so now you've gone through all of these phases. You've done some research. You've uncovered some unmet needs. You have a great point of view statement. You ideated. You prototype on it. You've brought the idea to life and felt it, and you want to test how the experience is going to look like. And so what you want to do in the testing phase is show. You know, think about the gift giving experience, the actual experience where you finally deliver the gift to the recipient, to the user. So test a couple of scenarios in your head, and what you want to do with the testing phase, which is really really important, is you want to learn a lot about the user, and then now reframe your view or refine your prototype, right? And so sometimes it's tricky because this is a situation where you want to wow the person, the element of surprise. So how do you test without giving spoilers, which is something that you probably will have to think about really critically. And what you can use is the storyboard that we talked about. It can help you go through all of the different scenarios of the actual gift giving experience, where you can unpack what might go wrong, and then you can course correct as you think through the gift giving experience. And there's nothing wrong if you feel like something's going to go wrong. You can go back to any point in the design, any point in the note that we've just talked about, and then change something or course correct something, and then come back to use that as feedback to refine the final how the final experience is going to look like. And so, in recap, you want to capitalize empathy in unlocking unmet needs. And then you want to use this empathy insight to create something that will delight the user. As to how you move from empathy insight to something that wows the receiver, what happens in between there is you defining the point of view statement of, having a point of view statement for your gift. We want you to treat this year's Valentine gift giving experience as a design project. You're going to define what the point of view statement is just the formula that we showed you. The user needs something because of the insight coming off from empathy. Ideate a couple solutions, prototype on those, test the gift giving experience, learn from all of that, and then I'm sure you'll be off to a great experience for the person that you want to delight. Now, I'm going to leave you with a couple of questions that came through when we are thinking about this. The first one is, um, you know, why did you want to think about why did you get this gift, the gift that you're going to really give for the person? What was the motivation? And all of this is going to come from your inspiration phase and your deep understanding of the user. The next one is, what would the person like, and not um, something that could be a good prompt is what would the person like, but would not like to buy for themselves. So that's a very good dive thinking process that could help you to learn something that might delight the person. And also how much can the person tolerate, because you really want to be careful, because sometimes somebody doesn't want something to be too extravagant, so you want to think about that as well. And then finally, not just what they would need or what they might but what might make their life more convenient. That is also pointing to you wanting to solve unmet needs. And there's this one quote that I saw that I thought was interesting that says, part of this whole gift giving experiences, if you have to tell the other person the gifts you want, then what's the use? And so you want to capitalize on all of the feedback you have, all the data you have from you doing your research, you empathizing with the person, you connecting with the person without judgment or without solutioning, and then coming up with something that might wow them. And so that's a quick run through what you can do differently this time around in terms of preparing to give someone a gift that might wow them for this Val's Day. And the floor is open. What struck you? What was an aha moment? What do you think was unexpected? What do you think was expected? Any initial reactions will be deeply appreciated. And Doc, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kofi. So that was taking us to school on how to go through the process of gift giving. I was listening to you. I'm like, wow, there are going to be people here saying this is way too much, too much of a process. But then I'm sure that for the first loves and even for the second loves, sometimes it could be worth it, right? One thing I learned is that maybe it's not looking at it as a very long process, but it's looking at it as a structured process. This idea that you don't just, treat it like an everyday thing. You put a bit more structure to it, and you don't sort of go ahead of yourself. Pause and say, what does the person really need? Think about it a bit more. Do a little bit more work, and then do some ideation. Don't just come up with one solution. Come up with a couple, and then try to see how you can take out what will be the criteria for taking out the two, so that you can focus on the one gift. And so maybe thinking about it more as putting structure to something that you've done over and over again, rather than thinking of it as a long process. I don't know, Kofi, if you have a response to that.
Yes, Prof. I like how you are anchoring on that. I think I might have probably given people that I am people an impression of a long process, but that is about the essence of it, right? You don't want you to approach this, as I mentioned earlier on. What about you thinking about your gift giving experience as a design project? And most of the things that had mostly delighted all of us is some of the really interesting devices that came right out of the garages of design. And what the message there is, a lot of thought went into that. So probably not approaching it as casually as you probably would always. I know most of the time, quite a lot of thought goes into that. But this is bringing some structure to the chaos of what gifts would delight the person, right? As I showed early on. And so you'd want to, have some structure. And one thing I really love about design thinking is a process that helps you move forward one step at a time. So at every point in time, you can find yourself, where am I at? Am I trying to define a problem? Am I trying to do some research? Am I trying to play around with a couple solutions and then move forward on with that? And so what really is the message there is really, approach it a little bit differently. You want to take a step backwards and think about the process of structurizing your approach to giving a gift, because you want to, on the end of the day, delight whoever is going to receive the gift, right? You don't want them to feel like this wasn't well thought through, and going through this process will really help you arrive at a solution, at a gift that will wow the person you want to give to. So yes, in essence, that's what we are saying to do. Think about the design thinking process, helps you move from point A to point B. And it's a lot rooted in empathy and your understanding of what the unmet needs of your significant partner is. And you're giving them a gift that potentially solve that need.
Right. Now, there are a lot of people who have a lot of experience in design thinking. Here, there's Eugene, Dr. Abby, Emilia, Derry, Isaac has been with us for many events. I see Mami Konedu there, Rosina, and other people that have experience that I have not mentioned. But what do you make of this idea of connecting empathy, which is I call it the lifeblood of design thinking, to gift giving? And when I say that, I want to make one quick point, maybe hammer on the point that you made earlier, about our conversation, Kofi, that empathy is about connection, right? Empathy is about connection. And if you're connecting with somebody, then you can connect with people on their terms. It doesn't have to be on your terms. So the point that you can literally give give a gift that would delight somebody, but you look at it and you shake your head and be like, I would never use this thing, right? So there's a bit complex, this idea that you give a gift that will make you happy, but the happiness is not as rooted through the other person being happy, through the connection you make with the person, you know. And that's extremely important. A quick other way of thinking about it is we did some work with MTN, and we're looking at customer service personnel, and we're looking at people who are the front in the customer service centers, and also the people in the back, the ones who solve the network problems. And we had to figure out what empathy means for the person in the back solving a network problem, who, when you call to say that I don't have service or whatever, they will not be able to do anything for you, right? They will not be able to do anything for you from where they are. They have to send a technician. They have to do this. They have to do that. How does such a person empathize with you? And what we found was that if only the person can connect with you and say, I feel your pain right now. I feel your frustration. I cannot do anything about the problem that you have, but I just want you to know that I feel the pain, right? In that same vein, it's like, you really need this thing. I cannot wrap my head around why you will need it, but I feel your need for it, and so I'm going to get it for you, right? I don't understand it, but I'll get it for you. And I think that is something that's a bit difficult to sort of operationalize, but it's one of the key things about empathy. So the connection part. So I'm wondering what others make of that. And we do have a few different people here who can respond to that question. Should we?
Hello.
Derry, that's so funny because I was going to call you Derry. Thank you.
I suspected that because yeah. Anyway, I think for me, it reminds me of a very interesting story about gift giving. There's this man who had given a lot of gifts to his partner in the past, usually extravagant gifts. And not that the woman doesn't appreciate those gifts, but there was this time that he just he changed it completely. So he just bought a book, and over a period of time, he was just writing down all the good things that he sees in his wife. And then at the end of the period, he just gave the book to the wife. And to his utter surprise, that was like the best gift he had given to his wife. So I think for me, what I'm learning from this is that this giving gifts is not necessarily buying the most expensive thing, but with the power of empathy, we're able to get down to the simple things that really make life count for people, and we're able to hit it straight on the head. So that's the connection I'm making from all of these things, is that where we really use empathy, we will not end up buying the most expensive gift, but we just hit the nail right on its head, and we'll be able to find the perfect gift for people to make them remember it for all the time that's ahead or something like that. Yeah, that's the lesson I'm making out of this. Thank you.
Wonderful connection, because if you make the connection, then you're getting the gift that's just right in that very moment. And it might be as simple as a toothpick, is what you're saying. All right. Others?
Yeah.
And please
Hi.
feel free to type. Yeah, Dr. Abi, for others, please feel free to type in the chat as well. We'll read it out. All right. Doc, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to share something funny in relation to what Derry also said, that even as parents, among your own children, you need to have empathy to give them gifts. So normally the tradition will be that when it's somebody's birthday, you're going to buy them a cake and they should feel over the moon having received the cake. But during one of the birthdays of one of my sons, he says, Mommy, I don't want a cake. Instead of buy me a cake, buy me Dumedo. He didn't want a cake, he wanted Dumedo, but I was assuming that everybody wants a cake. So empathy, even among our closest relatives, is very important. I just thought I should share that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic, right? This idea that it's not just people over there that you have to think about. The person next to you that you've been gifting, this is not the first time. How do you pause and try to connect a bit more so that you can delight them? Amanda.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
So I really enjoyed this session. I'm in no way a design thinking expert. It's just a topic I'm very interested in. But something I wanted to ask or to bring up was what would you guys say is the best approach to incorporating this type of thinking or what we've just learned in commercial use? So I actually came on with the mindset that I was going to learn something more like how to incorporate this into business or into something that you can generate income from. So what's the best approach to incorporating the design thinking and empathy in the market so as to come up with gifts? Because in gift giving, there's specific markets like Valentine's Day, birthdays, and stuff that are high demand time frames for gift giving. But it's also a very saturated market in the sense that because those are the typical way to celebrate those days, there are generic things that are available to the market, but there's also specialized things. Like instead of like a regular flour cake, I've seen the option where there's eto in cake form. I think it's eto in cake form. So that's been molded with they've cut the egg to look like fruit slices and stuff. So I just wanted to pick your brains on what is a good way to incorporate this kind of thinking for commercial use. Thank you.
Right. So I think the outline Kofi gave sort of answers that question, but I'll let him respond to it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Doc. Amanda, thanks for the question. Really good one. I think you somehow did answer a lot of it because you've got all the insights into answering the question. For me, what I'm thinking, Doc can add that is, this is about looking at an end user, right? So in commercial sense, the end user or the customer to your service is the person you are thinking about delighting. And so how do you use all of the detail that you know about them and all of the research that you know that's about the saturated market in bringing out a product that is differentiated in the market? And so it's a whole lot about now using all of what we talked about today, but now you trying to give the service or the product as a gift to the person who come and purchase it for their significant other. So in this case, they are your user, they are your significant other because you're looking to delight them. And to use all of what you know and all of what we discussed, solutioning towards delighting them. So maybe the insight you're having from them is, oh, the market is so saturated. Oh, it's just about the same thing. Oh, it says a food hamper, it's a flour hamper. And so you probably can go into doing some bit more research. What different things would you need? Why do you think this is saturated? Maybe they gave the same gift last year, the year after, the year before, and the last 2 years before. So you use all of that insights you go through defining your point of view, using that insight to ideating a couple of things that might be different, to prototyping it, testing it out, and then going through that cycle will help you refine a product or a service that will delight your user. In this case, your significant other, who will be the person coming to purchase your service.
I'll just quickly add to that and say, when it comes to for commercial, the process works really well. And as Kofi laid out, a lot of times we try to define a persona, that's the person or the user that we want to solve a problem for, right? So that could be the customers that walk through your store, or the ones that buy it from you on IG or TikTok or whatever. And sometimes there are peculiarities with your customers that you may not have really captured and thought about before. So let's say where the kind of solution you have or the location that you are at, you serve people who are bankers typically, or it could be people who are military officers, or it could be students. So it becomes the question of what will fit this user profile, right? Number one. And then as Kofi kept saying over and over again, what will delight them? So number one is what will meet their need, and then two, what will go beyond meeting their need to delight in them. So it could be that a top cake is interesting, but maybe for if your customer pool are students, or your locations around a school, they probably won't find anything interesting about a top cake. Perhaps bankers might find that interesting, right? They're bringing home something completely different that they haven't had in a while, or I'm guessing that a top cake would also not be that cheap. So people with a slightly higher socioeconomic income might appreciate that a bit more. So sometimes the data is right there. As a business person, the data is right there, but you just haven't analyzed it well to know what was the basic characteristic of your customer segment, what is peculiar to them, what will they need, and then how do you go beyond that to absolutely delight them. So I think it's extremely applicable going through the process that Kofi shared. I don't know if that helps, Amanda.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's clarified a few thoughts in my head, so thank you.
That's great. That's great. Others, let's see, other okay, so in the chat, Isaac says, I decided to give Abena, the persona that we shared, a frame picture on food waste because from her quote, she's someone who loves planning, and planning our meals is one of the effective ways we can cut down on food waste. Wow, it's interesting. And food waste and the environment is something I'm also very passionate about, right? So you're connecting your passion to that of something that Abena likes. So that's interesting, right? Because that could be a good sort of connection point where you guys, that becomes a jumping off point for a long conversation about planning, food, and so forth. Joshua says, oh, that's a direct question, so we'll come to that later. And Amanda, I think you're Amanda of Bead Shop, I think, right? You have a bead shop?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So maybe that's another Amanda, because we tried to reach out to a few retailers. So Carl here thought you were another Amanda. Anybody else before we bring this to a close? You don't have to be a design thinking expert. Maybe you can talk about how you connected to
good. Sorry, but
all right, so we need to mute Kofi. Matt, can you mute Kofi? So Anybody? Any other comments? Maybe it's just your general views on the session. What it's going to make you do differently? Any appall that you are taking away that you care to share with us before we close? Everybody's quiet. Don't worry, we don't know who you're going to give a gift
Hello.
to. Oh, there we go, Joshua. Okay, Derry and then Joshua.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that I have a friend who saw my status from South Africa and is very excited about it. So we are traveling far.
What? I didn't catch that.
Said I have a friend who saw my status from South Africa.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's great. We're trending. We're trending.
He's very excited. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Joshua. Thank you for sharing that, Derry. Joshua, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Yeah. Hello.
There you are. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Good evening to everyone. So I think it's been a good input from everybody here. I've learned quite a lot. But I'm thinking or asking a question. I don't know which is which. But you say this whole process involves, let me say, 2 or more people. Okay, where one and someone thinks about what is the best suitable or gifts to give someone. And then I'm asking or I'm wondering, does that mean that if let's say Kofi and Amma, if Kofi goes to ask Amanda, what do you want for your birthday? And Amma tells him exactly what he wants, does that mean that then there is no need for all this design thinking being applied?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. Kofi, you want to come in here, or should I add to it?
Add to it. I got interrupted from a work colleague, so please add it.
Sure. So Joshua, that's a really great question, and I'll call on my colleagues to also add on. But I think, yes, if you ask somebody what do you want, and they tell you exactly what they want, and you give it, you get it for them, I'm 100% sure that when you give it to them and they open the package, they would not scream, they would not jump, they would not have the expression will be something like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate this. But imagine, so the point here is that the element of surprise is extremely important in gift giving, right? And that's also what makes it difficult. So yes, if I would say that asking someone what they want is the safest way to go. But going beyond that, to get into their shoes, to connect with them at that visceral level, to really get something that they were not expecting, but it's exactly what they wanted, would definitely earn you some points.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Okay, I think that's great. I mean, that's the reason why I joined this. I was interested in this call to learn, because personally, I'm quite not so good at guessing what a person like. I may end up not buying anything at all. And it's happened over and over and again. But I realized that a simple way to get around it was to just pick up the call, then pan out or what most do you like? The person mentions this, you go look for it, you get it, and you're done. So anyway, I am here and I think I've learned some processes I'm going to apply to bring in that surprise factor and make the whole thing laugh.
Absolutely. Yeah, do a little bit of work is what we're saying. Kofi, I don't know if you want to add to that or anybody else.
Yes, I think that's essentially that. Yeah, do a little bit of work, and that work is rooted in, if you want to just demystify the terms, empathy is, let's just demystify to say research. So spend a lot of time into doing that initial search. That's going to bring a lot of value into what you initially decide to gift.
Right. And if you're confused, ask somebody. Say there's this person who has these characters. The same way we showed you a profile, right? profile the person and go through that whole process, and then you can ask for a second opinion. Ask 2-3 people. That's also additional research. It validates your solution and say, here's a profile, here's what I'm getting, what do you think? Right? And that way, then you don't go through that catastrophic process that Ajwa shared earlier about the guy who bought underwear for somebody that he's not dating. But on that note, just want to say thank you very much on my side. I will turn it over to Kofi, as he was really the key resource person. Over to you, Kofi.
All right. So thanks, Doc. Go ahead.
For that, I see Mame Kunedu's mic unmuted. I don't know if Mame, if you want to.
I just wanted to add something small. Good evening.
Yes, please. Yes. Hello.
So, for me, when I want to give gifts to people, I look at their personality before giving it to them. So, I have said a group of friends who are so afraid of COVID-19. And so when I have to give them gifts, I always incorporate hand sanitizers that are like locally made. So, for instance, I can get it from Talata because they like the packaging. They like the fact that you put in effort to get them a Ghanaian brand, which also suits the things that they need at a particular time. So it might not necessarily be expensive, but you get them the things that they appreciate in these times. If I'm going to give gifts to my family members in Ekropon, they don't care about hand sanitizers. So what I typically do is to get them like food stuff because that is what they need. If I get them candles, it won't make sense. If I get them cards, birthday cards, it won't make sense to them. They will just say, "Oh, thank you," but really they don't appreciate it. But once you buy them even fresh tomatoes, fresh pepper, yam, but then you put it in a very nice basket for them, the whole village will know that something is happening. They get so excited because that's their setting. Those are some of the things that makes them very happy because once you leave, they'll go and cook that food stuff and enjoy it. And they always appreciate it and they are happy that you're thinking about them because those are the things that they need. So you cannot be bringing the things that you give to your quote unquote your city friends and the things they value and the experiences they've had, which makes them um, like certain things as against certain group of people. And it's not to demean them, but it's just that you're looking at what they need and what they appreciate. There are certain people who just they are fashion people. So you can get them a cloth and they'll be happy. Other people will not also like those things. So I think the more you spend time with these people, you get their characteristics and then necessarily asking them what they need. And initially I was going to share a story. So I have this auntie in Belgium. She's like the funky type. So one day she called me and I was out of the house going to meet these door-to-door people, not for myself, but for like a family member. And she said, "Oh, so this is how they do the door to door. I was going to do something for you people, but I wasn't sure." And so because I know who she is and the lifestyle she leads, she said she'll send gifts to us like last year Christmas. So my entire family members were excited. She made the package and took a picture of it and sent it to us. It was a very huge box. So all of us were imagining the goods in that particular um, package that she was going to send to us. It took some time. And the night before the gift came to Ghana, we couldn't even sleep. I mean, like when the guys from door to door called us and said, your delivery is in Accra and that you should come and pick it tomorrow. We were so excited. I couldn't sleep. My aunties, everybody was so excited. In the morning, the guy said, when you're coming, don't come with this type of taxi. Bring the ones that has the bigger boot. And we were so excited. That one even made my uncle who works in Takrady come all the way from Takrady because he doesn't want to miss out on the show. Only for us to come home and it was a washing machine. What are we using washing machine to do? So the one who traveled all the way to Accra just to get like biscuit, soap, and other things was so disappointed. and all of us were disappointed. We left the air conditioning downstairs for like a week because it was annoying. You didn't make us sleep. We had to change. We had to go and get a taxi because the ones that we would use
Didn't
originally
have space.
was we didn't have space. And then when we came back we had to call guys around the area to help us bring the item to the house, only for us to open and it was washing machine. So you brought washing machine all the way from Belgium and you're telling us that this is the gift you brought for all of us. So we're so disappointed. We didn't know how to call her and tell her that we don't like the gift because, and I have family members who did not want to talk to her. And she felt that she was doing us a favor, but till today, I'm sure people have not forgiven her.
Right.
But that is how that's how it is.
Right.
I was hoping to get some at least biscuit, Belgian biscuit to enjoy for Christmas. This woman brought washing machine
A
for
washing
us.
machine. Right. For all of you. I think
For all
that's
of
a really
us.
good, yeah, it's a really good note to end this on, right? Because I think that for me, I mean, I don't think this is something we conceptualize really strongly at the beginning, but what all of this is, what it comes down to for me is this idea that you spend a bit more time. You spend a bit more time. You think about it a bit more. Think about all these people that you said you were bringing a gift for, and something that they can all share. Not a washing machine, you know.
No, not a washing machine.
Right. Thank you so much, Mame Kunedu. It's always a pleasure to have you at our event.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So thank you, everybody. It was great. You should look out for our February meetup. And I'll hand it over to Kofi to close us out.
Right. Thank you, Doc. Thanks everyone again for joining. I really appreciate your time. If you realize people don't stay on some of these calls that span more than 2 hours. We started a call with a couple of around 29, 30 people, but we still have 22 with us right now. Thank you so much for staying the time and joining the conversation. We hope to see you again for our February meetup, and find us on every social media platform. You can find us Design Thinking Ghana Hub. It's Design Thinking GH. Design Thinking GH. So I'm sure if you saw it on someone's status, just follow us so you can get up to speed when next we have another discussion for February. Thank you so much. The underlining message is spend a little bit more time really understanding who you want to give the gift to. Don't be shy to prototype, to find out from other people what they might like or what they might not, and think about the actual gift giving experience. So somebody doesn't hire a taxi all the way to town and then pick a washing machine. So good evening, everyone. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again. Hi everyone, I'm seeing some of the team members still around. Hope everyone is fine. Nice having you all. And then please share feedback with all of us, with Matthew, myself. We'll appreciate that.
Absolutely.